Here we go for week 5 on a Friday night in a very odd weather night, very odd storyline, so to speak, in terms of favorites that just couldn't shake some people for a while. It's been an interesting evening, and we're about to go through it with you here. Thank you for joining us here on Friday Night Drive. We've got scores scrolling at the bottom of the screen. Big one up north already in the books. We're going to talk about all of it here. I'm Matt Rodewald. Thanks for joining us here. We're happy to have you here with us, and tell your friends jumping on as we get games going final. And we want to see those scores come in. So Steve Soucie with us as always. You're watching 800 games right now, and the further south you go, the windier it gets, and the rain gets a little more sideways. Thankful to be closer to Wisconsin than you are closer to, say, Missouri or Kentucky tonight, I would say, right?
Yeah, I tried to get a little bit of look-ins at some games in the central southern Illinois portion of the state tonight. Most of them I could not see what was going on. So I abandoned that plan and went to games more north in the geography specter of Illinois tonight because a lot of rain, a lot of wind, a lot of issues affecting some games a little bit farther south in the state of Illinois tonight.
Okay, we've got some highlights we're going to show you here momentarily, so be patient with that. We've got our reporters out and about. You're certainly going to hear the experience of the weather because of the wind and really what it is. If you've been following it, it's a Hurricane Helene, now Tropical something Helene, and the remnants of that, because it's such a big storm, the wind really just wreaking havoc all across the Midwest. And you know, whether it's Indiana, Ohio, Southern Illinois. A lot of people played through it in Southern Illinois. Indiana had a lot of wipeouts tonight. Ohio, I'm sure, did as well. So it was very, very different across the, state lines as to how they handled it. But when you get these middle-of-the-season weather games, you're going to find out one thing. Can you run the ball? You're going to find out another thing. Can you stop the run? Those are the two big things you're going to learn tonight, I would imagine, more than anything else, especially downstate.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. And I mean, some schools were smart and got proactive. There were a few more Thursday games last night that kind of popped up out of the blue, especially in Southern Illinois. Yeah. I didn't even know they were happening until I saw final scores, to be completely honest with you. So they got
smart
out. They got out in front of it. But I do think that over the course of this evening, we're probably going to see some games that got moved, some games that got suspended. It would not surprise me at all. It's just, I mean, it gets a little dangerous out there in situations like this. So, but you're right. You will find out. You will find out what your team is made of and get in conditions like this, and what you can really count on when the chips are down and you have to be in a situation where you know what you have to lean on. You get some experience out of a weather condition like that says, hey, even when it's not that situation, can we do this? Can we not do this? It's definitely it can be a game changer for a team over the course of the season.
And it was the kind of weather that reminded me of the second round of the playoffs 2022. We had a ton of rain come through. We had it's just a classic cold front where it went from 80 to 40 in a heartbeat, but that wind just wreaked havoc on those Saturday afternoon playoff games. You had negative punts. Nobody could throw the ball. You had low scores all across the state. So it was very similar to that. One game that we're watching right now, St. Francis just took the lead on Providence. That's now 25-21. Providence Catholic a 14-0 lead early on, and St. Francis, the Spartans, have been chipping away. We're going to talk about that here in a second. But first, the highlights of what we're seeing so far, week 5, all across the state of Illinois. Good one with Joliet Catholic Nazareth. We're going to have plenty to talk about. Some observations. How about that sunset in Seneca tonight? Man, we saw another good week of amazing sunsets there, and you got to have more cowbell if you're in Seneca. But it seemed like running the football, as we talked about, you had to have a running game tonight, and for a lot of teams who did, they were able to get it on the scoreboard successfully.
Yeah, I think some of those really pivotal games out there that we were talking about, I'm sure we'll get into this at some point, but obviously the one that really stood out and kind of grabbed me a little bit was that Cary Grove Prairie Ridge game. Logan Abrams was kind of bottled up a little bit in the first half, didn't get a lot of work. He really kind of took that game over in the second half. So Cary Grove able to fend Prairie Ridge off in that one. They trailed almost the entire game. Early on, they were down by 2 scores. So a nice rally and comeback from them. When you got to that point with about 8 minutes left in the game and Cary Grove needed to score a touchdown, you kind of felt like they probably had what they needed to in their bag. It seems like they always seem to get themselves in a pivotal, second half drive where they need one, and they always seem to get it. Got it again tonight, and that just shows the mettle of that program.
So Providence led St. Francis throughout much of this game, and in fact, actually St. Francis were down 21-19 because they went for 2, didn't get it. Finally got a touchdown to break through just a couple of minutes ago. Providence now with the ball, and they have 4th down and 5 around midfield with about 55 seconds to go to try and keep this thing alive. And on that 4th down play, and it looks like they did not convert, St. Francis will take over, and it looks like they're going to survive. How important of a win is this going to be for the St. Francis Spartans? Because it didn't, they're among many teams who did not look good at first half action tonight that had to figure some things out in the second half and did so here.
Yeah, still, from what I've been able to understand, still kind of suffering some of the lingering effects. Even though they got that win over Loyola, they got beat up a little bit in that game. So still maybe kind of working through some minor aggravating injuries. But you're right, they kind of looked a little flat to start this game tonight. Providence scored somewhat easily on them to build up that 14-0 lead. And then they kind of soldiered up and slowly clawed their way back into that game. I mean, like you said, finishing it with a little under 2 minutes to left with a touchdown in that one. So a really good win for St. Francis. This was a win that I had talked about before. That Providence, I felt like, needed a lot more than St. Francis did. This would have been a really, really nice one for them to get had they been able to hold on and finish that off for a W, because they're in the middle of their gauntlet right now. There's some brutal games in this 3-game stretch for them. So now they've dropped to 2 and 3, and they got some work to do.
A little bit further west, St. Charles North, their homecoming game tonight. It's a weird one. It's kind of going back and forth in that game. Right now, Wheaton-Warrenville South with a 32-23 lead in that one. They just tacked on a field goal. It was a 1-possession game. They traded the lead probably 3 or 4 times in this one. And so now St. Charles North, about 1:08 left. They have it at the Wheaton South, I want to say the 12-yard line to try and punch it in, but they're going to need to get the ball back. They have 2 timeouts left to work with here. So it's not exactly done yet for Wheaton South. We've seen some weird ones here. I can't read St. Charles North in terms of where they are. There's Batavia, there's Geneva, and then there's everybody else in that league that kind of is drifting backwards, so to speak. Wheaton South might be better than we give them credit for, and to come out with a win in this one if they can hold on.
Yeah, we were talking about this last week about how important this game and a couple down the line would be for Wheaton-Warrenville South to find a win. They're able to finish this one out. Maybe we need to start talking about them in a little bit of a different perspective, to be completely honest with you, because it won't be about can they get to 5, can they get to 6, can they get to 7. I mean, I think it's a conversation worth having if they prove they're capable of finishing off St. Charles North here.
Well, St. Charles North, the North Stars, they just tried to kick the field goal now to try and get it to it. So that's something you rarely see, but it's smart, because with a minute left here, you can use those timeouts and then figure things out after that, especially if you can get the onside kick. Again, traditional onside kick, so to speak. But a penalty on that field goal attempt here, it was good. They're going to move it up. They're going to try it again. What it does, though, is it stopped the clock because it was rolling at that point. So St. Charles North will have a chance for – now they're going to pull them off and go for they're going to pull them off and actually try for the touchdown on this play here, especially since the clock is stopped. Because I believe – and I think this is smart because a couple of incompletions here in the end zone, they're now at the 8-yard line. So it was a 5-yard penalty. As I'm watching this on the feed here, a 101 mark, just so we're aware. Wheaton South has one timeout to work with, so they can reset their defense if they need to. But at this point, and the one thing for St. Charles North, they have a really good kicker who's also a huge lineman. He's 6'7". It's the best lineman kicker I've ever seen in 30 years of covering high school football. I'm not kidding. You sit him, you watch him go out there, you're like, oh, this is cute. Lineman, 77. And the fluidity with his motion, you go, whoa, okay. He can probably crank him from 45, no problem. So now they're going to start the clock. They had to reset the clock, and they rolled it on this placement, and it looks like it's an incomplete pass in the end zone, stopped at 102. So we'll keep an eye on this one here and see if they can get it to within one touchdown. Meanwhile, Mount Carmel doing Mount Carmel things, 48-13 on Bennett. We'd hoped to see Bennett come out in this one with a good performance, but they went to 56th and Dante, or 65th and Dante, and it didn't happen right away, and it snowballed from there.
Well, I'll tell you, early on, it looked like maybe the Red Wings would have a little bit of a fighting chance in this one. I mean, it was 21-13 early in the first half, but since then it's been completely all Caravan. I've been kind of keeping an eye on this one. Bennett cashed in an early interception and kind of put themselves where it looked like, hey, maybe they're gonna have a puncher's chance in this one, but it has literally been all Mount Carmel basically since that interception. So, really kind of flexing their muscle there. So it was kind of an interesting situation tonight. I was wondering how some of these teams would do in some of these crossover games, and for a large part, it has not gone well for the teams in the smaller, I shouldn't say smaller, the lower divisions of the Catholic League in terms of those crossovers, because the blue has flexed its muscle tonight. St. Ignatius won comfortably over St. Viator. Last I saw, Loyola had a really comfortable lead over DePaul Prep. So those games where I was just kind of wondering, maybe not if those teams would win, but if they would make them competitive, they really haven't tonight.
St. Charles North cashes in on a touchdown, the extra point to come, and so that will be pending with 51 seconds to go. So we're keeping an eye on that one here. In the meantime, St. Francis trying to finish it off, and I'm not sure what's happening this time. Have you been watching this one to figure out if they've been trying to actually be able to kneel it down and put it away?
I don't know what's going on here either. It seems like whatever's going on. I don't know if maybe someone's hurt that I can't see. I think that's what it might be, but they seem to be arguing about something in terms of
the third down and 3rd and 15 or something like that. Very odd sequence. I'm wondering if a couple penalties. I'm wondering if there was like a sportsmanlike situation or what have you. So we'll keep an eye on that. They did get the extra point at St. Charles North. It is 32-30, so we'll watch the onside kick. You want to place your gentleman wager if they get it or not?
Oh, I'm going to say no.
I'm going to say no, too. I'm just going to say they're not going to get it. We'll see how they line this up.
I generally bet against onside kicks in most situations.
So it's that big man kicking game here as they set up at their own 40. Hands teams up for Wheaton South. Again, they have that timeout if they want to see it, and they used it, and they got a look and used it. So that's good special teams coaching right there. St. Charles North still with 2 timeouts left. Again, we'll keep an eye on this. We'll get some scores here, and we got a couple of recaps we want to go through in just a second here. Genoa, Kingston, Winnebago, we're going to look at that in a second. Sandwich got back on the right track, looked like tonight against Harvard. So, and you know what? Our friends, the Bison, Fenton, a winner over Riverside Brookfield tonight, a final of 21-14. How about that?
That might actually be the first time that they've picked off a win this year against a team that I think might be okay. So,
I agree with you on that.
Might be moving.
So I believe that gets them to 4 wins, right? 4-1.
Yes, it does. 4-1.
Let's hear it for the Fenton Bison. They started the season with they came into the season with a 10-game losing streak, and they're 4-1, and they need one more win, and I think they'll get it to get into the postseason. That is great. I love that for that school. And I'm sure the vibes around campus are great in Bensonville, so that's great. All right, out of the timeout, going to keep an eye on St. Charles North. Again, it's Wheaton Warrenville South with a 32-30 lead. It's 51 seconds. The Tigers trying to spoil the North Stars' homecoming, but the North Stars not going away yet. Onside kick is loose, and let's see who's got it. It looks like they have not made a ruling here. They have also not determined whether everybody was legal. It looked like it was 10 yards. There looks like it's going to be a discussion. This is just all four of them coming together slowly to figure this out. Maybe it's just the wind.
Providence is going to get another here. They've got 29 seconds left. St. Francis just punted to them. They've got it appears to be 65 yards to go in 27 seconds. Need a touch.
I wondered if Providence had some timeouts to work with to try and get the ball back. Looks like they did, so we'll keep an eye on that. You watch that for a second while I see what this discussion turns into here. As I have that game going in here, we're bouncing around here with a bunch of games. One thing that surprised me tonight as we're kind of waiting here, Morris just went off on Canelan in that first half. What'd you make of that? To me, it's a Canelan goes to Morris and Morris things happen.
Yeah, we talked a lot about this game over the course of the week with Morris and Canelan, maybe not knowing who was going to come out of this alive. I was always kind of on the Morris bandwagon here. I have been kind of all year long. I didn't really take a lot of stock in that loss to Peoria because, sometimes that happens with a team like Peoria. But Morris really flexed some muscles tonight. I expected Morris to win the game. I did not expect them to do them in this fashion. They dominated from the outset, and it looks like, I don't know if it's gone final yet, but they had a really comfortable margin.
It was a late game to get to halftime. It took a while there for them and Canelan actually punched one in right before the break, but it was 35-3 at one point. It was not a good start. Apparently a penalty that was called.
Providence has moved it to the 36 with 12 and a half seconds left in the game.
Okay, so you're watching that. I see that now. 2nd and 10 is what I have. About how much time on that on your end?
They just completed a pass at about the 25. They got, it looks like 4 seconds left in the game.
And they'll be able to spike it really quick.
They just spiked it. It looks like 2.3 on the clock right now.
So they'll have one shot at it. Now, St. Charles North got a penalty. They have to do it again. And the onside kick this time, did they touch it with 10 yards? It looks like they did get the onside kick at their own 47-yard line after the penalty. So 49.6 seconds left. We'll come back to that. Meanwhile, Providence and St. Francis, that is it's a 2nd and 10 coming up. It does not matter. 2.3 seconds to go. Providence they still have, I believe St. Francis just called a timeout now to try and sort themselves out here. So we'll keep an eye on that. Back to St. Charles North with 2 timeouts left and 50 seconds to go. A field goal to win. They really need to get within 25 yards of the end zone for a shot. Crossing route, and they're going to try and get it inside Wheaton South territory. They get out of bounds at the Tigers' 40-yard line. So that's a huge chunk of yards, 43.6 to go. And still in the timeout at St. Francis and Providence. So 2 good ones going down to the wire right now across the state. We're going to keep an eye on other games going on in the state. We also mentioned a couple of recaps. We've got Eddie Carifio at Genoa Kingston and Bill Fresco's the Sandwich Harvard game. St. Charles North back at it. Scramble time. Ethan Plum deflected. Incomplete. 38.1 to go. And so that'll be 2nd down and 10. Coming out of the timeout, let's watch Providence here. And Providence, as they go from the 26-yard line, this one for the game, a lot of time to throw to the end zone, and the Hail Mary is.
They caught it.
Did he catch it? They did catch it. Oh my goodness! They caught it as time expired. It looked like a catch, and Providence is going to win.
The camera angle is not good on the actual catch itself, but I saw a bunch of St. Francis arms go up and then go down, and then the rush from the Providence sideline.
A stunning finish as Providence has beaten St. Francis on a Hail Mary, a 26-yard Hail Mary, 27-25, the final in that one. What a finish there. What do you make of that?
Well, we talked about it before. I mean, this is a game that I thought was extremely pivotal for Providence, considering who they have left on their schedule after this. I mean, this starts a 3-game gauntlet for the Celtics. I mean, next week they go to Marist. The following week they go to Loyola. They finish their season against Joliet Catholic at home. So the back end of their schedule was absolutely brutal for them to be. It's a big, big difference for them because now they're sitting there. They're sitting there at 3-2 rather than 2-3. I mean, I still don't know if they're going to be able to get to 5, but it's going to be a lot easier for them to potentially get there than it was about 2 minutes ago. So, I mean, that's really what it comes down to for Providence.
Okay, switching back over to St. Charles North, 28 seconds to go. They're at the Wheaton South 44-yard line. They still have 2 timeouts to work with and a catch inside the 30, still running and getting to the sideline, knocked out of bounds at the 16-yard line. And so St. Charles North, with 18.8 seconds left, was in chip shot range at the moment and with 2 timeouts to work with. And so you would imagine if you're going to rely on a field goal kicker, you want to get that thing as perfect as possible. You can still run the ball. You also have a Division I quarterback with Ethan Plum, and they're going to go right back at it on 1st and 10. He's going to sling it to the end zone, and it's going to be a catch for a touchdown, and St. Charles North takes the lead with 14.1 to go. Wow.
Jeez. I talked to Ethan Plum in the off season back in February at an event that I was at, and I was just struck from the conversation that I had with Ethan Plum. Is this kid has a ton of experience and a ton of confidence, and I think that is showing through in an effort like this. I mean, that is just clutch performance on top of clutch performance, and I know they have a whole new pack of wide receivers there, but Plum pulls another rabbit out of his hat here. So really credit to that kid because boy, that is a heck of a rally that, to be honest with you, once again, it was another one of those 5 minutes ago. I wasn't real confident.
I didn't think that was happening. Yeah. And curious move, they kicked the extra point, and it was 36-32, so it gets it to 37-32. Didn't make any sense there. I think you wanted to actually go for the 2 to get it to 6, but 14 seconds left. No timeouts for Wheaton South. And so let's recap. They got the touchdown, got the onside kick, and then did everything right in the 2-minute drill. Riverboat Robert Pomazak figures out how to get the lead back. And this is just a wild night so far. We're only 24 minutes in. We haven't been able to play any recaps and really go through any scores because we're watching these games go down to the wire. Meanwhile, Mount Carmel just went final, and so they took care of Bennett. That's the final score. So we'll get you updated on all these scores when we finally settle down a little bit. Libertyville, a shutout winner over Mundelein, 42-0. St. Rita, a shutout winner, 42-0 over Niles Notre Dame. And so we'll just make sure that this one gets academic after we've already had one Hail Mary winner tonight with Wheaton South. A good return here matters. With 14 seconds to go, you got to be very careful. And this is where I think, St. Charles North used their last timeout on the kick. I would have waited one play just to read what they were going to do, but Pomazak elects to use the timeout right there. Anything else standing out as we wait in timeout here for what else is going on?
I'm just trying to catch my breath, to be completely honest with you. I mean, some of these games that, I didn't know exactly what I was expecting from some of these games, but they definitely came down to the wire in a way that I'm still kind of reeling from the Providence game. So, and just trying to also pause in what's going on there with St. Charles North. But really, really interesting finals. And some of these games, and I haven't been able to sift through a whole bunch of finals yet.
I haven't either.
But the only one, another one from the early, and the final score isn't going to really show what happened. And I just saw the Nazareth score come across the crawl, so I'm interested to see what happened there. But the one that kind of stood out to me, the score doesn't indicate it, but that Oswego Plainfield North game was really, really interesting. I watched a good chunk of it. It was really, really a defensive scuffle for a long time. Plainfield North held a 7-0 lead into the third quarter, and then Oswego went 3 touchdowns.
Wheaton South returns it to almost to midfield, and it's at 8 seconds left. 7.1. It was a squib kick, but just too many missed tackles. Got it out to the 45-yard line. And so heave-ho distance, maybe one play and then a heave if you do it right, but you got to get out of bounds, and that's what they're looking at. St. Charles North used that timeout, so they can't use any more timeouts to kind of read whatever Hail Mary lineup that they have or whatever formation they're going to be able to go through here in these next 7 seconds. If Wheaton South can't pull this off, this is as devastating a loss as they've had in a long, long time for the Tigers.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one to swallow, especially when you start looking at the ramifications down the line. This might be a situation where it's the difference between being that 5-4 team or maybe a 4-5 team. And, you might get in at 4-5 with their situation, but you might not too. I mean, that could potentially be one that really haunts them in their hopes of getting to the playoffs. So, it could be that this one could sting to be complete.
And guess who's next week? It's Wheaton North. It's crosstown. So just bad time for that. All right. So it was a quick out, 3 yards out of bounds, 4.6 left now. So here we go from their own 48-yard line. 3 receivers split to the top. They got 1 down to the near side. St. Charles North has everybody back to the 20-yard line. And they're bringing 5. So they're bringing everybody here. And this is going to turn into a nightmare. Wheaton South has nowhere to go. And now some space. Time has expired. They throw it. And towards the end zone, it will get there. And did anyone catch it? No, it was knocked down. It was very close. And I'm not sure if it was over the line, but it was as close as you can get. Wheaton South quarterback rolled back Caleb Williams style to avoid pressure, was able to move forward all the way up to the line unimpeded, and was able to just heave it down to his group of receivers who all came together, knocked down at the last second. St. Charles North survives 37-32. How about we take a break and catch our breath and figure this out, right? So here's what we have coming up. A whole bunch of scores to start things off with. We've got a couple of recaps, and then we're going to set things straight on a Hail Mary Wild Finish Friday here, Week 5 on Friday Night Drive here at Shaw Local. We'll be right back.
Hey, football fans, listen up. I'm Tom Thayer, and I drive a Hawk. I got it from my friends at Hawk Volkswagen. So drive what I drive. Drive a Hawk. Hawk Volkswagen on Jefferson Street in Joliet or online at hawkvw.com.
Do you ever wonder where the profits go when you shop at a big box store? Hi, this is Patty from Oliver's Corner Market. When you shop at Oliver's, you can rest assured that the profits stay local, supporting other local businesses and charities. Find us at the corner of Britton and Bradshaw in Dixon.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
We're here to help you with your problems that result from an automobile accident or an injury on the job or the loss of a loved one. There's no reason you should go through this alone and guess that you're doing things right.
We deal with tragedies that affect families and individuals every day.
Come here and protect your interest. We've been doing this collectively for over 100 years. Let's put that experience to work for you.
All right, welcome back. Week 5 of Friday Night Drive, as we've had some wild finishes already. Providence winning on a Hail Mary against St. Francis on the road, stunning the Spartans, who had rallied from a 2-touchdown deficit to take the lead in the final couple of minutes. Meanwhile, St. Charles North was down by 9 points in the final minute and they scored a touchdown, got the onside kick, and then won the game with a touchdown with about 10 or 14 seconds to go. I'm Matt Rodewald. He's Steve Soucie. We're watching some wild ones. We're also watching some not so wild ones. Right now I got Morris on. It's 50-10 in the fourth quarter, 5-minute mark. Clock is running. Morris has it. They're going in again if they can to get it to 57-10. So we're going to check on some of the finals. Our favorite, the Fenton Bison, also got a win tonight too. But first I want to check in with our reporters. Eddie Carifio was at Genoa Kingston and Winnebago. Let's start off the recaps with Eddie tonight.
41-0 Genoa Kingston beats Winnebago up here in Genoa for homecoming. Quick report from this one. GK really needed a big performance coming off of 2 losses in which they only scored 7 points, going into playing Byron next week, presumably still undefeated unless Oregon pulled up some kind of big upset. Really needed some confidence going in, and I think this gives it to him, obviously. That's what they said after the game, talking with quarterback Nathan Kleba and talking with Blake Ides, who had 2 big plays, a touchdown offensively and an interception right before to set up that touchdown. Great game for him. Both of them talking about this performance and what it does for the team and how much it was needed at this point, given how the last 2 games went. Total offense probably was only about 300 yards. Running clock for most of the fourth quarter probably took care of that. I'm not quite sure if GK hit 300 as a team. Kleba was the only one over 100. I think he finished about 106 on the ground, including a 70-yard, almost 70-yard touchdown run. So 41-0 is the final here. Genoa beats Winnebago, moves to 3-2. Big win for them with a tough game against Byron next week.
Yeah, you got to get a win like that before you set yourself up for the Byron Tigers. They're going to come roaring into town, so to speak. So that is something that I think for GK fans, homecoming weekend too, that's the perfect feel-good finish.
Yeah, you definitely have to get yourself in the right frame of mind for what you're dealing with there. And going in with a little bit of momentum can't possibly hurt at all. So that's a good thing for them. Kind of a mishmash in the middle of the Big Northern Conference. So that's the kind of game that Genoa Kingston really needs to win. They need to, to do it convincingly. That doesn't hurt either. So, Genoa Kingston trying to figure out a way to get themselves into maybe where they're the third or fourth team in there that maybe gets in. And these are the kinds of games that you have to win to do that. Just caught an interesting final, Matt. Lake Zurich 17, Lake Forest 14.
Wow. All right. So Lake Zurich's back. What do you make of that, other than the fact that I wondered about Lake Forest's offensive capabilities and if Lake Zurich's defense was able to figure things out in time to stop them? I think you saw that answer tonight.
Yeah, that was one that, to be honest with you, based on what Lake Zurich had done so far and what Lake Forest had done so far, I didn't really expect that to be that close of a game. No. So maybe maybe the Bears maybe have figured a few things out, and that's a good sign for them moving forward.
It's quite the swing game that's going to really change the 6A brackets, I would imagine, more than anything else at this point. By the way, the lights have gone out at the Woodstock North Johnsburg game. That's not the only one that's had that problem. Deerfield and Glenbrook North had that problem. They had a power outage too. They're barely in the fourth quarter here, and it's a blowout as I'm watching it in the old on TV at the moment. So they've had some interesting issues with power across the states. Had some sort of issues because of the wind or what have you. So keep an eye on that one. That game's in a delay right now, Woodstock North and Johnsburg, and a big one in the Kishwaukee River as well. In the meantime, Bill Frescoes was at Sandwich and Harvard. Let's get a recap on that one to find out if the Indians took care of business and get the Hornets.
All right, folks, we are final from Sandwich, 49-7. The Sandwich Indians over the Harvard Hornets. 42-0 at the half. Most of the second half was a running clock because they were up 40+. Sandwich just did whatever they wanted tonight. They ran the ball really well, had almost 350 yards, and they spread the ball around too. They had 3 backs with each almost 100 yards. So just a beat down ultimately. So next week, Sandwich will go to Richmond Burton, and Harvard will host Woodstock North. So 49-7 in this one. Thanks for tuning in.
And I think you can hear the issue. The wind is not easy to deal with tonight.
No doubt about it. Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Just kindly remind our reporters, you should probably go to your car on a night like this. Or if you're in the press box, stay there. We'll take the people talking around you as opposed to the wind. It's not helpful. We're just giving Ray a hard time. Sandwich, though, That's something they needed to do. They needed to win like that. And it's kind of like Genoa Kingston, where you're kind of a mess in the middle of the league there, especially in the Kishwaukee River. You need to take all the wins you can. And when you have a dynamic running back in Simeon Harris, you got to use him. You got to use him. And a night like tonight, he better come out big, and he did.
Yeah, and that's, it is very similar to what you were saying there with the Big Northern and stuff like that. But Sandwich right now, if they can get some momentum going, they've really got to run. It looks like they have to run down one team that's right in front of them right now, which is Woodstock North. But they've done a nice job of separating themselves. The last I saw, Richmond Burton was kind of somewhat comfortably winning. I'm not sure if that stayed the way that it was, but Woodstock North was ahead of Johnsburg, I believe 26-14 in the fourth quarter last I saw. So Woodstock North looking to go 5-0, which, to be honest with you, might be the first time in program history that's happened.
I think you're probably right.
So,
in the meantime, all sorts of games are just now coming in here. Hey, Larkin, a winner on the winning board this year. An overtime win over Streamwood, 22-20, the final in that one. So good to see Larkin and the Larkin Royals get a bit of a victory. I'm trying to pull up the Woodstock North game just so I can have that in my background here, so I can keep an eye on that for everybody else. The lights are off, so the picture's going, but and you can see everybody's kind of waiting, figure things out. But they're all just sitting there in the dark, which has got to be very strange more than anything else. Again, we're watching Morris as well as they were putting things away. What else is standing out other than the scores we had? What else jumps out at you at the moment?
A couple things that I've just kind of picked up on right now. Lincoln Way Central with a 28-6 win over Bradley tonight.
Yes, just saw that. What do you make of that?
That's a pretty solid victory for the Knights right there. Bradley came in undefeated and an offense that had been pretty productive so far this year. So a good defensive effort, obviously, from Lincoln Way Central. Backing up what they did the week previous. They were starting to show some building blocks on defense, making some plays there. That's obviously carried over into week 5. So that's a nice win for the Knights.
Kevin was at Princeton and Monmouth, and this was a fascinating finish because it didn't go the way that either one of us expected to go. So let's get the recap from Kevin.
Final for Monmouth is the Titans 31, the Tigers 3. The Titans used 2 scoring touchdown plays early in the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight.
Then they go to their bread and butter on the run game. All the Tigers could muster was a 49-yard field goal by Ian Morris, which breaks his own school record. The Tigers will rebound next week at home against the rival Red Devils.
Kevin knows all the records. If you ever read his stuff, he has all the nuggets and tidbits from records, and I love reading his stuff. We thank Kevin for that. So, and if you heard in the background there, 100th win for Monmouth head coach. How about that? Monmouth's pretty good, huh?
Yeah, clearly they are. I mean, when you look at the Three Rivers Conference, it's kind of like you expect Princeton to kind of run away with it. You think Monmouth is a perennial playoff team, but they're not the kind of team that you're thinking in your mind, hey, they're gonna pick off Princeton or they're gonna give Princeton a game. They certainly proved that theory wrong tonight. Obviously, dominant from the get-go, led substantially almost immediately, and to see Princeton just completely bottled up like that was one of the largest surprises of the evening, as far as I'm concerned.
Let's go back to the Duquesne Conference for a minute. If you're just joining us, St. Charles North won a wild one as they rallied from 9 points down in the final minute to beat Wheaton-Warrenville South, 37-32, the final in that one. Batavia tonight, they were the ones that beat St. Charles North last week. Let's talk about the Battling Bulldogs and catch up with Joel Bennett. Was Nathan Whitwell doing Nathan Whitwell things? Yes. Here's the recap.
All right, I'm inside my car because it's a little bit too windy out there to do this out there, but I am right outside of Wheaton North High School where the Batavia Bulldogs just pulled off a very impressive 41-0 victory over the Falcons. And pretty much from the gun, it was all Batavia. I mean, they established a run game early, which, surprise, surprise, considering the wind, but they finished with over 250 yards rushing in the game. Nathan Whitwell had 120 yards and 2 touchdowns, mostly in the first half. It's his 5th consecutive game with over 100 rushing yards and multiple touchdowns. Grayson Kelly had 86 yards and a touchdown on the ground. Most of that happened in the fourth quarter there. Brett Berggren finished the game with 41 rushing yards and a touchdown, most of them on jet sweep plays. He also had a 35-yard reception for a touchdown to add on to that. Bodie Anderson was pretty productive as well in the pass game. He finished 8 for 15 with 88 yards and 2 touchdowns and an interception. His other touchdown went to Isaiah Brown on a 3-yard catch. Overall, on defense, it was very dominated by Batavia as well. Wheaton North finished with 31 yards of offense total throughout the entire game. They finished with -5 rushing yards and 31 passing yards. So overall, looks like Batavia is really hungry to face Geneva next week. Both teams are going to be 5-0 heading into that contest. Meanwhile, Wheaton North will look to bounce back against Wheaton Warrenville South next week.
All right, so that you hear it there. As soon as we finish the show, I'm going to be in the parking lot of Batavia High School, sitting there waiting until next week, because that's just how early you got to get there to get into that one. So it's going to be one of those kind of games. Yes, Geneva did win, but they looked very shaky in the first half tonight. They could not stop the run against the Glenbard North team that had not had a lot of success in offense. So there's a very interesting storylines going into that next week. To hear the last stat that Joel mentioned, 33 yards of total offense. That Batavia defense, as much as you want to talk about how much they're running the football and Isaiah Brown's always, around the football, that defense is the calling card for the Bulldogs. And it's going to be very tough for Geneva's high-flying offense to really get things going next week against the Battling Bulldogs.
Yeah, it really should be interesting to see how, both of these teams approach this game and attack it, because obviously both have their strengths, but it's definitely, I think it'll be a little bit of a chess match. I definitely expect it to be a highly competitive football game, but right now I think Batavia is showing off the form that you kind of expect from the Batavia Bulldogs, but you expect it when we're heading into the playoffs. We still got 4 weeks of the regular season after tonight for them to get through, and they're performing at a very high level right now. So, I think they're performing at a higher level than Geneva is. So we'll see if that holds to fruition in week 5 or week 6.
The lights are still out at Johnsburg and Woodstock North. But they're all standing there waiting to figure things out, and it looks like they haven't called it. So that's a good news. What time are we at? 10:15. I would imagine you got 45 minutes to figure this out, because at that point you don't want to do that. Just a kind of final thought of the Geneva-Batavia conversation, because Geneva, again, they did not take the lead against Glenbard North until the final 3 minutes of the first half. It's homecoming week. You got Batavia looming the following week. These are 16 and 17-year-olds. I would imagine tonight was a product of that. I cannot remember the last time that both Geneva and Batavia came into this matchup unbeaten with this kind of, of a platform, so to speak, from a statewide stage. So this will be fascinating. Geneva's going to play better next week. They have to. And I think probably what they had tonight was a good thing for them to kind of figure things out going into that matchup. Either way, both programs, you would imagine, are setting themselves up for deep runs in the postseason, both in 7 and 6A.
Yeah, it definitely appears to be that way. When you look at how they will set up in the bracket, 7A, Batavia on a potential collision course with maybe a top seed if they can run the table in the Duquesne. Geneva, they sit on that north side of the bracket. The obstacle for them in 6A North is obviously the same obstacle that it always is, likely to be Cary Grove. When would they pair off against them? If they end up finishing, let's say, for example, 8-1, that they're going to be on the opposite side of Cary Grove, barring some sort of weird quirk that has something happening otherwise.
And then Lake Forest losing tonight changes it a bit up top in that bracket. So I don't know how you shake that out.
Yeah. So what it does is it probably moves Cary Grove up, because they're in a closed conference. They're limited on playoff points. They don't have any non-conference games. Whenever they win a game, they're going to get 4 weeks. So the max amount of points that a Cary Grove can finish with, if they finish 9-0, is 36. That number does not change. So that's really what it comes down to. Yep. A closed conference team, if you go 9-0, you're going to be really low on points. You're probably going to get beat by every other 9-0 team for seeding purposes.
Right, every time.
Yep. Yes.
Which is where, if Geneva can win that game at Batavia, which would just, that alone is something because they haven't beaten them in 12, 13 years. I lost track. I mean, honestly, it's been a long time. But they probably won't even realize the magnitude from a seeding standpoint of being able to jump over a Cary Grove and then not have to possibly see them until the semifinals, which could make a big difference because there's no Lake Zurich in the mix this year. Yeah, they won. Lake Forest all of a sudden looks vulnerable for a minute, and I'm sure they'll be fine the rest of the way. But, that it's just a matter of matchups. And to have Cary Grove come to your building versus you having to go up to Fox River Grove, very different story. As you saw last year, as Geneva got smoked up there in the quarterfinals. We do have light. There are lights at Woodstock North, and they're in the opening minute of the fourth quarter. So this is going to be a long time. Who's on deadline? Doesn't matter, right? They're not getting that game story in for tomorrow.
We had potentially another wild Catholic League game that came down to the wire apparently as well.
Yeah, what do you got?
Marist ends up winning 34-26 over IC Catholic, but IC Catholic had the ball 4th and goal with 15 seconds left in the contest, but were unable to punch that touchdown in. So a 34-26 win for Marist tonight.
I see a lot of scores that folks have posted. We appreciate that. We were watching those games that came in, so we appreciate everybody that puts the scores on the feed, on the old YouTube comment section. I'm paying attention to some of the stuff going on down in Central Illinois. I'm fascinated by what's going on in Southern Illinois because of the rain and wind. I was watching Bloomington Central Catholic in Unity, and you could see in the lights just sideways rain and wind and they had turf field. It looked nice, but you just wonder if it was a muddy field. There will be some miserable moms and dads in the stands for that one. That was Bloomington Central Catholic getting a nice win over Unity tonight, 20-10. Unity scored 52 points last week, 10 points against a Hurricane. So that's kind of how the standard goes, so to speak. So we're watching the games going on. Go ahead.
There's one team left in the CCL conference that is currently 5-0. Who is it, Matt?
And they are? Who is it?
The St. Lawrence Vikings.
How about it?
Leo. They're the last undefeated team standing in the conference.
All right, so we do have one clip we want to play. Is Streeter and Herscher down to the wire? You knew the wind was going to come into play. How about a wind-aided field goal to win it at the Horn? Watch. So big play from Streeter there, and then they ended up with the wind-aided field goal. You'll be able to see that on social media for sure. That's it's been a crazy night on some weird finishes that we've seen all over the place, huh?
Yeah, it definitely has been one of those situations. To clarify, there, it was Herscher that ended up winning that game.
Oh, really? Okay. I misread
that was a 39-yard field goal from Herscher to win that game 31-30 at the end. That touchdown gave Streeter the lead.
I get it.
28, but then the field goal from Jack Houghton from 39 yards. I'm just looking at it right now.
Okay.
Yep.
So, by the way, it was a final Loyola over DePaul, 35-7. I think we mentioned that earlier, just so that we were clarifying that. Just some of the scores that I'm looking around Northern Illinois at the moment. Bishop Mack with a win over Aurora Christian tonight. There was a tight one, 17-14 in that one. Mantino rolls over Lyle, 42-7. Marengo a shutout victory, 42-0. A nice win for the Marengo Indians. By the way, Lena Winslow is supposed to play someone from Wisconsin, forfeit win. So because this is the Rockford Christian mess, because they did not have enough players. We saw a couple of these stories this week as we let's pause for a second, talk about that. The fact that we had De La Salle go down was kind of alarming, just because of the fact that how many kids are in that school, how many players you would expect that size of a school to have. What do you make of that?
Yeah, when I heard what was going on, I'd heard some rumblings about this a few weeks ago, but that injuries had basically put them to where they were under 20 players on the varsity level.
That's dangerous.
That is dangerous. so, sometimes you would argue, well, then why don't you just bring up some JV kids and, finish out the season, give the upperclassmen that you do have at least the opportunity to finish out the year. But, it's so tough in that conference.
It depends on who they are. I mean, if you're talking freshmen, I don't know.
Week basis, that could be pretty dangerous for, bringing up, freshmen and sophomores that aren't physically capable of doing that. So, it was tough to see. You never like to see a program that has, a long history have that happen, or any program for that matter. But
right.
It's definitely something that I'm hoping that they can figure it out and get themselves back, back competing at the varsity level, as soon as next year. I hope it's not a long-term thing. That's for sure.
I played in a game, again, this is 30 years ago, and at the sophomore level against Glenbard South. So it's a sizable program. We had 15 dressed, and we won the game. And I would never wish that on anyone, because it was also 95 degrees out that day. Just an awful first week of the season kind of game. So if you're talking about, well, I mean, all they need is 11. No, they need more than that. You need at least 20 guys, because you're talking about making these guys go both ways and play special teams. They don't come off the field. And if there's anything we saw at the college level last week, I saw more vomit on TV than I have seen in years in just 1 week of football. So it shows you that they're really giving you that they're everything out there, and they've got to have a rest. We had that field goal. I teased that field goal. We should show you that field goal. Here's Herscher's game winner. And that was from 39 yards. And that had plenty of leg thanks to the wind.
Yeah. A proverbial wind tunnel out there tonight created in Herscher. There's not a lot of tree block out there. That's not that far from me. A new athletic complex, but if the wind was probably just jetting and probably picked that thing right up and carried it through the uprights for the Tigers tonight.
So the lights are back on. Woodstock North was going in for a touchdown to put it away up 26-14, but they fumbled at the goal line, and Johnsburg gets it back. Under 8 minutes to go, so it's not done yet. So we'll keep an eye on that one to see if that goes anywhere. We talked about two teams in Sycamore and Rochelle that have been kind of getting some tight wins from time to time. And did you see those finals tonight from both of those teams?
No, I didn't actually.
Sycamore absolutely pounded. I want to say it was Ottawa tonight, 63-0. And Rochelle did the same thing to LaSalle Peru, basically. So both of those teams got some spanking wins tonight. We've let out some frustration. And with Sycamore, again, they're very good. But I heard a lot of the conversation was, yeah, but they're just eking out wins. Yeah, but they're just eking out some close wins. Enough of that. They're ready to go. And I think it's Sycamore Morris next week. That should be dynamite matchup there.
Yeah, it should be. No doubt about it. It was a topic of conversation. Hey, can they put the pedal to the metal when the opportunity is given to them? And they said, yeah, we can certainly do that. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, I had Rochelle 48-20 with the final minute against LaSalle Peru. So that was the score in that one. Rockford Boylan 57-21 over Belvedere tonight. Big win for the Boylan Titans. How about the overtime matchup in Sterling with Newman Central Catholic outlasting Rockridge 15-7 in OT? It's kind of a dynamite Friday night there.
That is a nice win for Newman Central Catholic. That is a good Rockridge team. So, finishing that off, I did see that it had gone in overtime. I had not seen the final. So really, really well done there.
Grayslake North 28-12 over Grayslake Central. That's always a fun matchup, cross-town battle there. Warren took care of business 42-6 over Zion Benton. Lakes with a blowout win over Round Lake 42-7. Stevenson over Waukegan. So these are get-well games for a lot of these schools here. Antioch a 50-8 win. Libertyville 42-0 win over Mundelein. And Wakanda pulled away from Grant in a matchup at Wakanda. And so nothing really too surprising up north, I would say, other than that Lake Forest Lake Zurich game that we've seen so far.
Yeah, no, it pretty much, there were a lot of those matchups tonight where what you kind of expected to happen was what happened. So, sometimes you have a schedule like that, but I think we've had enough theatrics in several other games to make up for it.
Yeah, and I would say so. Same with Lincoln Way East, because Lincoln Way East was very consistent, but they broke our consistency. We'll explain after Harp Hassani's recap of Lincoln Way East and Homewood Flossmoor.
Harp Hassani signing off here tonight. Final score is 49-7 for Lincoln Way East. Absolutely phenomenal game from the Oregon commit, Jonas Williams. 6 touchdown passes, 281 yards through the air. Griffin shake off a little bit of a sloppy start. It was 7-7 late in the second quarter, but they're able to shake that off and not give up any points the rest of the way. Barely gave up a first down. That's 5-0 for the Lincoln Way East Griffins this week.
5-0 for Lincoln Way East. And what was the final on that one?
48.
Well, wait a minute. They're supposed to score 49 points because they had their last 4 games, as you pointed out before the show. How did they get that?
Well, they missed the extra point on the last touchdown. So as soon as I saw them score, I was like, okay, they're going to get 49 again, and now they're going to just stop because this is what they do.
That's what they do. Yeah.
So, but then I saw that they missed the extra point, and then since there's no way to actually score 1 point, I knew that the very bizarre statistical anomaly that team has created far in 3 weeks was going to come to an end.
And there had to have been a coach, maybe one of the special teams coaches in that 5 foot by 5 foot press box they have up there that basically said, and he was the only one in the building that probably knew it too. So fascinating, no less. I got a weird score for you.
Yeah.
Eisenhower beat Oaklawn 51-47 tonight. It's been a strange week on 95th Street with everything that's gone on there in the last week. And I'm sure for that administration, it's been one of the longest weeks they've had after the fight that they had to deal with and all that stuff that went on over at Richards. And then they had this game that went deep into the night and everyone scoring back and forth, and probably one of the longest games. There's probably a couple of administrators that just wanted to go home.
Yeah, I would imagine so. An interesting, I mean, I don't know if interesting is the right word, but kind of a little bit of a scuffles for Eisenhower to start the season here. Coaching change there. They'd been a kind of consistent playoff team for several years, kind of what you could count on, but it has not gone real well to start the season for them. So for them to kind of, granted, Oaklawn's struggling as well, but for them to pull out that win there, a good sign for them moving forward at least.
We mentioned Sterling Newman Catholic, the Sterling Warriors. They went up to Wisconsin. They went up to Beloit and beat Turner 32-0 tonight. Jacksonville shutout win against Springfield Southeast. Macomb with a win over Matterdai. That one in a 29-20 win. I can't figure out how good Macomb is. That helps their resume quite a bit, I would say. Princeville over Monmouth United 40-8. Camp Point Central winning again 30-14 over Brown County. As I look downstate, back to the western suburbs, it was Downers Grove North, not as dominant from a score standpoint, but a 28-7 win. They'll be fine with that.
Yeah, and that's it at this point. Like they're gearing up for the difficult portion of their schedule. Maybe took the foot off the accelerator a little bit tonight, but basically they've been dominant so far. It doesn't surprise me that they were able to, do what they did tonight. But moving forward, that's a team right now that I think it's going to take a pretty big effort to knock them off the momentum slide that they have going in the right direction right now.
Overtime at St. Charles East, they beat Lake Park 27-21. The Saints win again, and they put a couple together there. Yeah, for a while we were wondering as they were the only one, I believe, that was 0-2 out of the gate. Wonder if they were going to see a win in the win column this year. They put a couple together. All signs had pointed that they were a little bit better. Not a playoff team yet, but it's a good sign to see a team like that start to turn a bit. And next week, St. Charles North, St. Charles East, both coming off wins.
Yeah, I think, and that's kind of interesting for Lake Park too, because like I felt like if maybe they could string some things together, maybe pull off an upset in the middle of the pack there, they might be able to get to 5, but that loss is really going to hurt them in that quest.
We were watching Geneva sort of like struggle to just break away from the pack. York did this tonight as well. Oswego was one that really surprised me, is the fact that it took them pretty much the entire game to kind of shake off Plainfield North. Josh was there. He's got a recap. Let's take a listen to it.
It's Joshua Welge from Friday Night Drive live here at Oswego High School, where the final score is Oswego 21, Plainfield North 13. Oswego moves to 5-0 for the first time since 2019. Oswego actually trailed 7-0 at the half. They scored the next 21 points of the game. Key turn momentum in the fourth quarter. Midway through the fourth quarter, Jeremiah Kane on the corner blitz forced a fumble, which Oswego recovered. 2 plays later, Jeremiah Kane caught a 13-yard touchdown pass from Brett Connolly. And then shortly on Plainfield North's next possession, Donovan Williams with a 34-yard interception return for a touchdown, and Oswego was off to the races. For Oswego, Carson Cooney, Iowa recruit, who usually plays linebacker, also ran in a 9-yard touchdown run. For Plainfield North, Justice Bird with touchdown passes to Omar Coleman and Emil Clark. Final score, Oswego 21, Plainfield North 13. Again, Oswego moves to 5-0 for the first time since 2019.
So a nice test for Oswego, but I'm impressed with Plainfield North, where they're able to withstand that Oswego defense. They got 2 touchdowns through the air against that secondary. That's pretty good.
Very quietly, and I mean, it's hard to look at the loss and say, oh, they played really well, but they did. They played very well early. This is a team and a program that kind of bases itself around its defense. Played very good defense for most of this game. One of those touchdowns, I don't know if it was scored directly off an interception or shortly thereafter.
Right.
But that was how they got one of their touchdowns. So, I mean, Plainfield North, and they're starting to put together a little bit on offense. They're 2-3 right now. They played a really difficult non-con schedule with York and Lockport. But I think they're one of the really good 2-3 teams that you're going to find out there, to be completely honest with you. It would not surprise me if they ran the table from here and finished 6-3. I think that's a good team. I really, really do.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to continue with our scores. The highlight of the night, Providence, a Hail Mary winner over St. Francis. St. Charles North with a wild win. We've got field goals for the win in Hersher and in a 40-mile-an-hour breeze at their back. We got all sorts of things to talk about. Matt and Soucie coming back at you Week 5 Friday Night Drive right after the break.
We're here to help you with your problems that result from an automobile accident or an injury on the job or the loss of a loved one. There's no reason you should go through this alone and guess that you're doing things right.
We deal with tragedies that affect families and individuals every day.
Come here and protect your interests. We've been doing this collectively for over 100 years. Let's put that experience to work for you.
Hey, football fans, listen up. I'm Top there, and I drive a Hawk. I got it from my friends at Hawk Volkswagen. So drive what I drive. Drive a Hawk. Hawk Volkswagen on Jefferson Street in Joliet or online at hawkvw.com.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
Do you ever wonder where the profits go when you shop at a big box store? Hi, this is Patty from Oliver's Corner Market. When you shop at Oliver's, you can rest assured that the profits stay local, supporting other local businesses and charities. Find us at the corner of Britton and Bradshaw in Dixon.
We are back for our final half hour together. And how long do you think you're going to go tonight, or is the wind going to, knock power out where you are?
I think I'm okay on that front. It's interesting because usually what I'm doing in that time afterwards is collecting scores. I've managed to get a lot of them already kind of processed in my system already. So
yep.
That's what's been going on tonight. But I would say probably usually 12:30, 1 o'clock is probably when
It's not too bad. It's a decent night.
Scores
I'm watching Woodstock North, by the way, and sure enough, they've tightened things up. Onside kick for Johnsburg. They did not get it. 4.5 minutes to go. They tried it. Down 26-21. They took a shot at it. They still have 2 timeouts left. They did not get it. They did that classic bunch, and instead of spreading out, they actually went and ran it. And good for Woodstock North for being ready for that. So that one's 26-21, Woodstock North, 4:40 left in that one. They had a power outage, and it took them a while to fire the lights back up. It's been a weird night across the state. Rain down south, power outages out north. And we got blowouts and good ones for sure. Let's talk about Dixon, because Dixon and Byron are doing this, right, to week 8. They're kind of like working their way towards this this massive clash. And so Dixon keeps on rolling. Drake Landsman was at the Rockford Lutheran matchup. We thought Rockford Lutheran would be pretty good, but Dixon is too much for them. Final score of 56-13. Here's how it sounded.
Final score from Dixon on homecoming, where the third-ranked Dukes take care of business against Rockford Lutheran, winning 56-13. Landon Knigge had the performance of the night with 307 yards rushing and 4 touchdowns. Finished his night with a 41-yard score. Dixon will hit the road to Winnebago next week with a chance to improve to 6-0.
We're going to talk about the Fox Valley in just a second, but what do you make of Dixon? And kind of a bit of a surprise in terms of how much of a difference that was there. I thought Rockford Lutheran would play a little bit, would stay with them a little bit longer. Is a better way to go.
Yeah, it's one of those interesting matchups that you never know exactly what you're going to get, because in the grand scheme of things, you're still talking about a 4A program against a 1A program. I mean, Rockford Lutheran, if they make the playoffs, that's where they're going to be. They're going to be a 1A playoff team. So, that is a difference. But I too thought that would be a little bit closer tonight. I did think Dixon would win, but they're definitely showing that, hey, they're a capable football team. I'm still fascinated to see what happens when they do finally collide with Byron. The interesting thing about their schedule is, they have that strange trip in week 7 where they're playing Johnston City from down in Southern Illinois to make up for the game that they lost with Rockford Christian. And Johnston City should not be a pushover. So I would expect that to be at least a somewhat interesting game there for Dixon. So they'll go into that Byron game with a little bit of an interesting trip, on their backs as well. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the next couple of weeks play out with those two schools.
To the Fox Valley real quick, and interesting night. Yes, there's Prairie Ridge and Cary Grove, and that's the headliner of the whole league. But who's next in line? I have no idea right now, because Huntley took a long time to shake off Hampshire, and that wasn't as pretty as they wanted to. Credit to Hampshire, who's played a little bit better in these last few weeks, but getting shut out by Crystal Lake South, then turning around, putting 22 on Huntley. Huntley wins that one 29-22. Jacobs put away Dundee Crown big time, 56-13. My Central Rockets figured it out tonight. They were up by 24 and coasted to a 10-point win for their longest win streak in 10 years. After the top 2 of Cary Grove and Prairie Ridge, who's next in that league?
I think it's Jacobs, but you could easily make an argument for somebody else that I probably wouldn't be able to fight you too hard on it.
Yeah.
The thing about Jacobs is that they've, their schedule is a little bit front loaded in terms of the quality opponents that they have to play. So, their record will not show usually how good they are. And then they go into that back half of their schedule where they have, let's be honest, they have a little bit of breathing room in those games, and you might see some more games like they were tonight, where they won comfortably, kind of flexed their muscles and said, hey, we're at the very least, we're a playoff team here, guys. Let's go out and show that that's what we are.
Crystal Lake South beat Crystal Lake Central tonight for what it's worth. Again, any of these conference games, they don't change the playoff point total standings or anything like that out. It's just a matter of pecking order for teams like Central and the Rockets, because they went up to McHenry and won tonight for the first time in their series history. But Central's now 4-1. They've got Jacobs next week at home, but then they go to Prairie Ridge after that. So these next 2 weeks, you're going to learn a lot about them. But then Hampshire after that, followed by a Huntley team you're not really sure about. So if you can get through these next couple weeks, if you split them, you're in good shape and you're feeling real good if you're the Rockets. But, for them, they've kind of been on the low end or that almost that close to getting across. There have been a lot of those teams that look at the schedule. Well, if we can get here and get ourselves in position, Central's one of those teams that across the state, just like a lot of teams that are trying to do that. And it's actually worked in their favor this year.
And there's so many varieties of what could end up happening with them because they're a 5A, 6A bubble team. So, I mean,
that's why it's interesting.
They could end up in either one of those two classes, and obviously a wild disparity in the kind of opponents that they might end up getting dependent on what seed they land in. I mean, they could end up with anywhere from a defending state champion to a Chicago Public League team. I mean, it runs the gamut of possibilities when you're looking at what's going on with them. A bubble team between 5 and 6 is a fascinating look because if one of those programs asks me, hey, who do you think we're going to see? And they ask me right now, I give them a list of like 25 different teams.
I don't know.
Literally.
We're not there yet.
So many possibilities. It's like, it's one of those interesting stories.
But you go from that bubble team to if Huntley and Jacobs are sort of wobbling in the 4-loss area, well, there are going to be some teams, especially in the lower part of that are wondering if they're going to get pushed down or pushed up because of whether or not they get in at 5-4 or 4-5. Probably not that case, but that's where it's fascinating more than anything else. So curious to see how the Fox Valley unfolds just because of the enrollment disparity of where those 5 and 4 teams are going to go. So we'll have a couple of weeks to talk about that and figure things out. Meantime, JT Petaldy was at that wild Streeter Hersher game. Streeter took the lead. Hersher won it. There's more to it than that. JT's got more.
Final from Hersher. Hersher beats Streeter 31-30. Forgive me, I'm sitting in my car here recording. It is so windy, and the wind played a big factor in the game. But a lot of passing, surprisingly. Hersher, Tanner Jones, 3 touchdown passes. Streeter Isaiah Weibel is spectacular with 4 touchdown passes. But it all came down to a 39-yard Jack Coutant field goal as time expired. The wind definitely helped it, but it was right down the middle. He got it up in there. Has been injured, hasn't even kicked in practice in a couple weeks, the coach said. But this one goes through as time expires to lift Hersher to 3-2, and Streeter falls to 1-4.
Can Hersher make the playoffs? 3-2. They had to have it tonight. They got it.
Yeah, they're going to have to find one more from somewhere, I think, to be honest with you. Because you're looking at a situation where on the back half of their schedule, they haven't played either one of the behemoths yet. So, I mean, they have to deal with both Wilmington and Coal City before this is over with. And then they also still have, did they play them earlier? I'm drawing a blank now. But now we're, they finish with Wilmington, Lyle, Coal City, and Peatone. So they're going to have to get one of those 3 teams. They're going to have to pick one of them off because they're not going to have enough points to be an at-large 4 and 5. They're just not. So, they have to get to 5. And in order to do that, they're going to have to get one win out of one of those 3 games.
We still got one live game going up in Woodstock North because they had a power outage earlier. Woodstock North with the ball, 1:14 to go on a 3rd and 8. So they need to convert here. Johnsburg is out of timeouts, and they just picked up a penalty. That's going to stop the clock anyway. So it's going backwards to 3rd and 12 or so for Woodstock North. Who needs this game more between the two of them? Do you think when you look at it on the surface and maybe the playoffs from a playoff point standpoint?
I think it's Johnsburg, to be honest with you, just because of what they have left and the fact that they already have 2 losses. So, like, for them, a loss here drops them to a 3rd loss. I'm not saying that's going to deter them from getting into the playoffs. I think they can still do that. But, I mean, Woodstock North could obviously afford it a little bit more just in the grand scheme of, like, what they have left on their schedule, the fact that they've already got 4 wins in the bank. It would be definitely, I think that decision weighs a little bit more on Johnsburg, I think.
Well, so the 4th down is coming. It's going to be 4th and 10, but they ran the ball, stayed in bounds. So that clock is running, and there's no timeouts. I don't know where it will have to get to, but it's under 40 and still running here. I want to say they've got 10 on the play clock. Here we go. So they're going to take a delay game penalty probably at about and they do take the penalty, and they didn't stop the clock. So it's going to be 26.5 right now. So, and again, Woodstock North is inside the Johnsburg 40-yard line. So it's a long way the other way. I imagine they'll come out and punt, and it's going to have to be the length of the field with no timeouts. So I don't know. Johnsburg's going to have a tough road to hoe here these next couple of minutes here. What was the biggest surprise that you saw tonight, other than the wild finishes that we have, just in terms of a result that you saw? Was it the Lake Forest loss? Lake Zurich coming back and kind of showing, yeah, we're not done yet.
Yeah, I think that, or possibly I think the Monmouth-Princeton game was another one, especially with the gap between the two teams. There were some games tonight that I thought were a little bit more competitive than I thought, but the outcome ended up going the way that I thought it was. Another one that kind of intrigued me, I'm not necessarily stunned by it, but what it means, Chicago Christian beat Hope Academy tonight.
Wow.
So that's one that, like, I'm not shocked. I think that Chicago Christian team is actually pretty decent. But what that does is it leaves Hope Academy with a 1-4 record right now. So that's a bit problematic for them moving forward. I still think that, like I said, the back half of their schedule is more favorable after this one, but I don't think it's necessarily a slam dunk that Hope Academy is back in the playoff field now.
I don't either. I mean, 1-4 with that kind of road left, it makes it tough there. But if they do get in 5-4, they're going to be a nightmare for somebody. I'm talking to you once again, Lena Winslow. Pay attention. All right, so back to Woodstock North. After the punt, 22.9 to go, length of the field from their own 24-yard line. So the punt went out of bounds. That was one of those just kick it straight out of bounds. Do not let them return it.
Yeah.
And so Johnsburg's going to need something to happen here. And sure enough, we've seen all sorts of weird things happen tonight. So I will not be surprised if this turns into a wild finish. We're going to watch the end of this here, a couple more seconds here before we check in on JCA and Nazareth, which was a fabulous game tonight, and one that was a rematch of a state championship game that we saw from a year ago. A little bit more low scoring this time around.
Yes, just a wee bit.
Yeah. So the second down and 10 here, 17.2, as they were incomplete on that last pass here. 3 receivers one side. Let's see where Johnsburg goes. They got to get a big chunk here. They do. Do they get out of bounds? No, it was knocked away. So that will fall incomplete. 10 seconds left. Getting dark quickly, even though the lights were already out in that building after that. Can you imagine? You had to go on the road, and then you had a power outage you had to sit through. And now you're going to lose a nail biter. And then you're going to get on the bus. It'll probably be about 11:15 when you get on the bus. You'll get back to school close to 11:30 midnight. Not too far of a trip, at least, but that's a long night.
Hey, just out of curiosity, Matt, I'm just kind of looking at some scores that I have not seen. Have you seen a TF North Lamont score tonight?
I have not. I will look for that momentarily. And Johnsburg gets out of a sack, but they're going to get tackled inbounds, and that will do it. Woodstock North wins 26-21. Let's see if we can get that TF North score. We're just going to run down some stuff. You know what? How about I do this? I'm going to run down a bunch of scores. You see if you can find that real quick while I run down some stuff. And let's do Southern Illinois. We haven't done Southern Illinois tonight. We always do that at the end of this program here. Cesar-Valier getting a big one, 50-6 over Christopher. Columbia, a 24-0 win over Freeburg. Greenville over Pana. That was a big one downstate tonight. 21-7 the final there. Mascoutah with their homecoming. I saw their pep rally go viral because their gym was fire and smoke and cell phone lights, and they have a good time down there at Mascoutah. There's no doubt about it. 54-6 over Civic Memorial in that one. DuQuoin a winner, 42-7. That's a team I just expected to talk more about because of DuQuoin's history. Just haven't done it this much this year. Chester a 20-0 win over Westland. This one surprised me a little bit, maybe in the sense that Waterloo might be pretty good. 28-14 winner over Highland tonight. What do you make of Waterloo?
Yeah, that's a nice win. You just kind of look at their results so far this season. You kind of sense that maybe something like that was coming, but Highland always a notable program in that area. Yeah. It's just So picking off that win definitely raises a few eyebrows, I'm sure. And the margin of victory, too, is also something to note.
I have your final. Lamont a winner over TF North at home, 28-13 tonight. So there you go.
That's an important win for Lamont. That was kind of why I was asking, because TF North has a little bit more cushion to start it out the season 4-0, but Lamont still looking to bounce back a little bit from that 0-2 start, and now they're back. Now for all intents and purposes, they're once again in the driver's seat in that conference.
Central Illinois scores. Here we go. Arthur Lovington over Cumberland, 24-20 tonight. Athens, 67 points for Athens tonight over Auburn, 67-28. Bismarck Henning, a winner tonight over Salt Fork. That was 55-18. That surprised me a bit. Thought Salt Fork would be a little bit better to hang in there. Peoria Notre Dame over Champaign Centennial, 28-21. Clifton Central over Watseka. That's a 30-6 final. Crete Moni put 70 on Danville tonight, 70-18. That was the final there. Dunlip finally got an easy win, 38-7 over East Peoria tonight, surprisingly. That one was a bit of a surprise in terms of just the marginal win, because we thought East Peoria might be able to hang with them a little bit there. Tri-Valley, shutout over EPG. El Paso Gridley goes down 42-0. Prairie Central over IVC 47-7. Did we get a Normal West score? Because that was one I wanted to see, and that is a final. Normal West over Peoria, 20-18.
Wow, boy, that's yeah. Want to go back to that conversation we had about earlier? Things that surprised me. That rockets right up to the top of the list, to be completely honest with you.
Champaign Central 9, Richwoods 8. So there's your final there. Normal Community, no problem with Manual, 42-0. Rochester over U-High, 38-30. And that was a tight one tonight. And Rochester is wobbling a bit, but they got the win. And so maybe they've turned things over. Sacred Heart Griffin, remember how they went down to Quincy Notre Dame? Not happy. 63-6 over Lamphere tonight. They were their answer to that. Let's see things that jump out. Muhammad Seymour, a 28-6 win over Taylorville, and probably my favorite score of the night. Port Urbana, Bloomington, 84-0. Not just a big win, but we're not going to let you score any points. 84-0. I always wonder how that happens, right? We talked about it last week, how it gets to that point.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Sometimes I wonder, what we're doing there in that situation, because you have to make an effort to get to that number, especially with the running clock obviously in motion for the entire second half. So my favorite score tonight was Lincoln Park beat Lane 3-0.
Yes.
I would have
somebody kicked the ball. All right.
The context of a public league game coming down to someone making a field goal. That's definitely a surprising final score for one of those games.
Erie Prophetstown, 20-14 over Mercer County. Just make note of that, because I think Erie Prophetstown might be pretty good. One that caught my eye as well, and I lost it. Where did I go? Oh, okay. Hononegah, they started the week 4-0. They started tonight 3-1.
Yes.
And they ended up with a 34-0 win out at Freeport. How important was it for them to have a bit of a road trip to get on the bus and go out to Freeport? They probably needed that.
And I actually think Freeport's probably in the mix for, being a team. So that's definitely one of those where they kind of needed to bounce back in that situation. You see, I wasn't sure how that was all going to iron out. For those that don't know, they had to take a forfeit loss for use of an ineligible player against Harlem. There was actually discussion that I had heard that it might be more than one game that was involved, but I guess they ironed it out and figured out what they needed to do or whatever. So it ended up only being one loss tacked onto their record. In the long run, I think that's going to shift up some seedings, probably in the 7A field for both Harlem and Hononegah, but it's definitely one of those situations where you need to see how they're going to bounce back from a situation like that, basically having a win taken from them. So they did tonight and did it against what I think is a pretty solid team. Maybe not upper echelon, but a pretty good team.
Squeeze in a couple more scores. I want to hear the JCA recap from Nazareth tonight, and then we're going to show you some highlights before I head out the door and you carry on. Carmel over Marian Catholic tonight, 42-20. Marian Catholic now has a Week 9 date available. So does Rochelle. I want to have that happen. Let's just do that just so we can see that happen. Neuqua Valley over DeKalb, 35-12. South Elgin a winner tonight over West Chicago, 38-21. West Aurora on their way to 9-0. They blow by Bartlett, 62-7. I watched a little of Sandburg tonight after we've talked the last couple of weeks. They look good against Mattia Valley, 53-12. And Palatine over Schaumburg, 28-0. So Schaumburg's 4-0 start, no more. Palatine, as we knew, was really good. Friend keeps on rolling, 37-6 over Hoffman. Prospect a shutout winner over Wheeling. Hersey a winner tonight, 55-7 over Elk Grove. And that final from Morris, a 50-10 final over Canelan. Quick, Michael Jawajic with the recap of Nazareth and JCA tonight.
Hey guys, just checking in here from LaGrange Park, where Nazareth just beat Joliet Catholic 16-13. A couple big touchdowns between Logan Malachek and Trenton Walker are the difference here. They're able to connect on a 35-yard and a 75-yard touchdown to lead Nazareth to a big win. The defense came in big with a couple big stops as well. Roadrunners are able to pick up another win. They move on to 4-1. Joliet Catholic drops to 3-2 as we head to the midway of the CCL-ESCC schedule.
I'm used to Nazareth being 1-4, not 4-1 at this point of the season. That has to feel good for them for once.
Well, I'll tell you, I saw the highlight of basically what was the decisive touchdown, and it looked like Trenton Walker from Nazareth was shot out of a cannon. I mean, he just really exploded away from the back end of the Joliet Catholic defense. Looked like he had about a 20-yard gap. I don't know if maybe that was the camera angle that was tricking me, but he just flew away for that go-ahead touchdown. So that obviously a much better situation in LaGrange Park, can probably breathe a little bit easy. Obviously, with the points that they've amassed, even if things did go south, I think they're still a playoff team because, 4 wins probably would be enough for them. So, but obviously they want some more, and definitely a lot better situation to be in now. And I'm sure for fair play's standpoint, I'm sure most of the teams that end up in their playoff field is kind of hoping that they keep going too, because last year with them as a 15 seed, I know there were a lot of hurt feelings about going, hey, they're not a 15 seed, guys. We need to rethink the way we're seeding these teams. So that's, with them winning, that's obviously going to keep piling up.
It'll quiet that conversation quite a bit.
Get them to the top side of the bracket rather than the bottom side of the bracket, creating, like, for example, what last year's first-round matchup between Prairie Ridge and Nazareth, which, to be honest with you, seems like it should have been a state semifinal game.
Semifinal game in the first round. Yeah, what a mess. But it happens. We've seen it before. And remember, they didn't seed teams until the late 90s. So we had we had 9-0 teams facing each other on a Wednesday afternoon. Trust me, this is much better than where it used to be.
You can tell people that don't know the history of it because when they complain about stuff like that, because there would be times when you would see those first round brackets and you'd be like, I don't have any idea how this was done. They were drawing with thumbtacks and strings on maps. That's how they were doing it. And they were doing it because of geographical proximity, and they did not care what the records were. So, I remember way back in the day, I remember a first round playoff game between Bradley Bourbonnais and Joliet Catholic where they were both undefeated, and it was a first round game. So, the system the current system has its flaws, but it's better than what we did before.
I remember listening on the radio in 3rd grade to a Geneva at Marmion game, but it's 7-2 Geneva at 9-0 Marmion. Like, that's a little bit unfair to have. It should be 5-4, 6-3, but you had to win 7 just to get in at that time. That was just kind of it. But again, Wednesday afternoon at 1:00, and it was a 10-minute drive. And so, the high school kind of got let out. Elementary school, no. Did we get any work done that afternoon? Absolutely not. As we turned on the radio, you could do that back then, and we listened to it. So those are fond memories. I know there's a Wednesday crowd.
On a Wednesday once, which was awesome, by the way.
Say that again? I didn't quite hear that.
I once saw 3 playoff games on a Wednesday, live, in person. I hit 3 games at once in one day.
There was nothing like the Wednesday games. That could be a podcast on its own. Maybe we talk more about that on Monday. In the meantime, some final look at highlights for tonight, and you'll keep on going. So for everybody behind the scenes, thanks for everybody watching with us. One more look at the highlights. Week 5 recap, Friday Night Drive. See you next week.
We gon' drink drinks and taste shots until we fall out. Like a roof on fire. Now baby, get my booty naked, take off all your clothes and let the heat on fire.
Hey, football fans, listen up. I'm Top there, and I drive a Hawk. I got it from my friends at Hawk Volkswagen. So drive what I drive. Drive a Hawk. Hawk Volkswagen on Jefferson Street in Joliet or online at hawkvw.com.
Do you ever wonder where the profits go when you shop at a big box store? Hi, this is Patty from Oliver's Corner Market. When you shop at Oliver's, you can rest assured that the profits stay local, supporting other local businesses and charities. Find us at the corner of Britton and Bradshaw in Dixon.
I like Reich.
I like Reich.
Since 2016, it's been my privilege to represent the people of the 63rd District. I want to continue representing you as an independent voice in Springfield.
I like Reich. We like Reich.
We're here to help you with your problems that result from an automobile accident or an injury on the job or the loss of a loved one. There's no reason you should go through this alone and guess that you're doing things right.
We deal with tragedies that affect families and individuals every day.
Come here and protect your interest. We've been doing this collectively for over 100 years. Let's put that experience to work for you.
All right, guys, start working on these scores. I have a ton of them inputted already tonight. I only need I believe, 101 scores from the rest of tonight. So just going to start at the top with what I'm looking for. Like I said, I have gotten a bunch of them in over the course of the night. Some early finals tonight, coupled with the fact that the scores were flying in pretty fast. So going to start at the top in the Apollo Conference. I'm missing a lot of those. Most of my Chicagoland scores are already updated, so I'm going to go as... Okay, let's go there. Okay, so Muhammad Seymour over Taylorville. Okay. Mount Zion. Wow, that is a surprise. I'm going to check that one. I don't trust that one. Mount Zion and Mattoon. I have a final here. I'd be surprised if Mattoon won that game, and that's what I'm seeing right now. Yep, that's what I saw in another place. So that's a bit of a surprise. Mattoon with a win over Mount Zion tonight. Okay, and looking, let's see. I do not have a final on Effingham and Charleston, so that's the first one that I'm looking for right now. Last I saw it was 30-20 in the fourth quarter in favor of Effingham. Find a working writing utensil here so I can make my scratch pad of finals that I'm looking for. So Effingham and Charleston is the first score from tonight that I'm looking for. Now we're heading on to the Big Northern. Okay, Byron 49-7 tonight over Oregon. Dixon 56-13 over Lutheran. Okay. And then okay, hold on a second here before I add to the list. Stillman Valley, just found that one. 48-7 over North Boone. I know that Genoa beat Winnebago tonight. I just don't know what the final was. If anybody has that out there, that would be helpful. So right now, looking for Effingham, Charleston, and a final on Genoa, Winnebago. I do know that Genoa won the game. Okay, doing some Big 12 scores now. Normal Community over Manual, 42-0. Notre Dame beat Centennial. That was closer than I thought, 28-21. Bloomington, 84-0 over Urbana. Bloomington, 5-0 for the first time in a while, I would assume. I can't recall the last time it happened. Crete-Monee, and let's see who else we got here. Champaign Central, 9-8 over Richwoods. Interesting score. And the surprise of the night out of that conference, Normal West with a 20-18 win over Peoria. So Normal West back on track. All right, on to the Black Diamond Conference. Some of these games, I'm going to be honest, I'm not sure some of these were played tonight. One of these games I know in the Black Diamond was already moved to Thursday. Cesar's win, that was actually on a Thursday night. Yeah, and I'm not seeing any of these scores being reported, so I think there's a chance that these games did not get played tonight. Hamilton County, and they already moved that one. So I'm looking for White County and Fairfield. I'm also looking for Flora and Johnston City. Never mind, I don't see Fairfield on the list. It's interesting. Let's see what happened there. Trying to figure out what happened here. I don't see. For some reason, this game is not showing up. So Fairfield and White County right now is a mystery. I do not know what's happening here. So I'm going to write it down for now. I also am looking for Flora and Johnston City. Okay. Moving on to the Cahokia. Chester over Westland, 20-0. Yeah, this is going to be interesting tonight because a lot of these Southern Illinois scores are not showing up. Dupo and Carlisle is also added to the list. So the list is pretty long so far. This was kind of what I was expecting. I'm not really all that surprised by this. Okay, Columbia over Freeburg. It's one of them. Okay. And you got one more to try to find here, and I'm not seeing it. So okay, well that was because one of these was played yesterday and I didn't even know it. Okay, I'm going to go back. I'm actually going to go back and check to see. No, that wasn't a Thursday game, so that was what I thought it might be. St. Ignatius, 36-13. Okay. So now we're moving a little bit here. Still a fair amount of games that I'm not sure, to be honest with you, if they were played. So right now the board of finals that I'm missing, Effingham and Charleston, White County and Fairfield, Johnston City and Flora, Carlisle and Dupo. Okay. So, just to check, because I'm curious now, I'm going to do this periodically tonight, just to see how many games I'm missing. Yeah, we're under 100, so for this early in the evening, it's pretty good. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the Central State 8. Okay, Lincoln over Decatur Eisenhower. Rochester over Normal University. Okay, Glenwood and MacArthur. Don't seem to have that one right now, so I'm going to check a couple other places before I give up. Glenwood was up comfortably last I saw. Okay. Trying to find the Glenwood MacArthur score before I move on. Okay, so I'm going to leave that one off for now. I'm going to put it on the sheet. Even though I'm fairly confident Glenwood won that game comfortably, I'm going to wait until I can find a final. All right. On to the Central State 8 West. Jacksonville 40-0 tonight over Southeast. Sacred Heart Griffin wins easily, 63-6. Quincy Notre Dame and Springfield is a game that I'm interested in figuring out what happened. I didn't see any updates on this game tonight. All right, that's a 14-9 win for Quincy Notre Dame, knocking Springfield from the ranks of the undefeated. Another big win for Quincy Notre Dame. They look like they're going to be a really, really dangerous 2A team. Okay, so now I'm going to check one spot before I ask about this one. This is a Chicago-based score that I was unable to find earlier. Let's see if I can find it now. Vernon Hills and Maine East. I still do not have it. Nope, still don't have it. So all my sources so far have struck out on that one. Vernon Hills, Maine East. So check one more place. See if I can find it. Nope, can't find it. All right. So, 7 games right now that I'm looking for. Effingham, Charleston, Genoa, Kingston, Winnebago, White County, Fairfield, Florida, Johnston City, Dupont and Carlisle, Glenwood and MacArthur, Vernon Hills, and Maine East. All right, so let's scrunch her down. On to the heart of Central Illinois. These are some of the games right now that I'm concerned about weather actually suspending them. But for the most part, I'm finding them. So Shelbyville, 48-14 over Deer Creek Mackinac. Tri-Valley, 42-0 over El Paso Gridley. Eureka wins a battle of 2 undefeated teams, 19-14 over Clinton. And Ridgeview beats Tremont 48-6. All right. Easy breezy right there. Okay, Heart of Central Illinois small. Moving right along, Leroy 57 wow, Leroy must be really good. They took Tuscola apart tonight, 57-7. Okay, then we've got GCMS 38-12 over Hayworth. And then we've got missing Macon Meridian and Central A&M. That's actually kind of a pivotal game. So that's another one to add to the list. Okay. And then Warrensburg Latham, 21-0 over Fieldcrest. Okay. So those are done. Now we move on to the Illini Prairie. Prairie Central with a 47-7 win tonight over IBC. Bloomington Central Catholic gets a win back that they need over Tolono Unity. Yeah, this is one that I'm interested in, whether or not I got played and also in the result. I can't find St. Joe Ogden and Carterville. Nope, just found it. Okay, it's 26-20 win for St. Joe Ogden. It's a nice non-conference victory there over a strong 3A program. Okay, Paxton beats Rantoul 40-0. And then I need a Monticello Pontiac score. Okay, also missing Monticello and Pontiac. So the list is up to about 9 games right now that I'm missing. Okay, Aurora Central Catholic loses 41-0. Breeze Mater Dei loses 20-29. St. Teresa wins 22-15. Also, don't seem to have Collinsville and Granite City. So the list is growing tonight. I thought this might be a problem. Do not have Collinsville and Granite City. So, moving on to the Interstate 8. Rochelle over LaSalle Peru. That was the only one that I needed there. Okay. Aside from the ones that were already missing, I'm down to 73 missing scores from Friday. This is the Lincoln Prairie. I'm expecting to miss a few of those too. Sullivan 51-0 over Cerro Gordo. Arthur 24-20 over Cumberland. Sangamon Argenta gets a win over Sangamon Valley tonight, 20-16. And I do not have Arcola and Villa Grove. Check one other place for that. Okay. All right. So Villa Grove and Arcola. I do not have that one, so I'm going to write that one on the list as 2. All right. So, moving on to the Lincoln Prairie Large. Thank you, Paul. Just gave me the Effingham Charleston score. Appreciate it. All right. So now, moving on to Lincoln Prairie Large. Okay, Farmington wins 40-0 tonight. I already had that one. Okay. Looks like I'm missing another one. Yeah, this has not been a great night for reporting scores so far. Missing Stark County and West Hancock. Home with that win over Breeze Mater Dei, 29-20. Euro Valley beats Knoxville, 46-13. Rough year for Knoxville. And that will get those done. Other than the West Hancock game. So now to the Lincoln Prairie Small. Okay, Princeville over Monmouth United, 40-8. South Fulton, 36-34. That's an interesting score. Wethersfield, 36-0 over Abingdon. Rushville, 38-31 over Havana. Okay. All right, now we're moving on to the Little Illini. Robinson and Marshall moved to Saturday. Little Illini Conference. Okay. And Mount Carmel and Paris was also moved to Saturday. Okay. So now we're going to move on to the Mississippi Valley. Waterloo and Highland. That's a Waterloo win. And then Mascouda 54-6. Okay. Looks like I'm looking for Triad and Jersey. Got that one. Okay, Northwest Upstate Illini. Let's see what's going on with you guys. Saw a few of those finals, but not all of them. Eastland 34-8 over Stockton. Nice win for them. Morrison 28-12 over Forreston. Fulton 45-6 over Dakota. Okay. All right, I'm looking for Galena and Durand, Pecatonica. $61.13 Dupac. Thank you. Got those done. Okay. So now we're moving into the S conferences already. So the Sangamo, we'll start with that one. Athens 67-28 over Auburn. Owens 57-16. We got that one earlier. New Berlin, we got that one earlier. Okay. Sangamo is right there. Okay, missing a couple from the Sangamo. Pleasant Plains, Petersburg, Porta, and Olympia and Williamsville. So we've got a few missing there. Now we're going to Southern Illinois River to River. Start with the Mississippi Division. $42.7. 742. West Frankfort and Nashville moved to Saturday. Okay, looking for Anna Jonesboro and Benton. Still looking after checking a few places. The list is long. I'm going to go through them here in a few minutes. Okay. Southern Illinois River, Mississippi River, Ohio Division. Yeah, we're missing quite a few there. Yep, missing Heron and Murfreesboro. Harrisburg and Massac County. Boy, this is the longest list I've had in a while. got to be weather related tonight, I'm thinking. South Central. Yep, we're going to have a couple more here too, I think. Litchfield. Hillsboro. Carlinville. Southwestern. Greenville over Pana. Okay, so missing Gillespie and Staunton. Thank you, Paul. Williamsville. Final score. Appreciate it. Gillespie and Staunton. North Mac and Vandalia are both missing. Okay. Okay, Vandalia over North Mac. I just found that one. I just found this Staunton Gillespie game too. So do not need any South Central scores. So those are off the board. Okay, South Severn. Getting pretty close to the bottom here. Centralia over Carbondale. Cahokia against Marion. I'm not seeing Cahokia and Marion anywhere. There, I just found that one. Cahokia beats Marion 28-6. Okay, on to the Southwestern. Two games in that conference this week. St. Louis plays tomorrow. Oh, sorry, St. Louis played tonight. They won 55-0. But I am missing the other two. Alton and Belleville East. And Belleville West and Edwardsville. Oh, just found the Edwardsville Belleville West score. So 35-0 there for Edwardsville. But I am missing Alton and Belleville East. Okay. Nooka over Oswego East. 7, loss 7-17. Okay. So now we're into the Three Rivers. Sherrard beats Mendota 28-21. Kewanee beats Hall 42-17. Princeton loses to Monmouth. Okay. All right, getting closer. Three Rivers West. Rivers Rock, excuse me. Riverdale. Oregon 28-26. And then Newman beat Rockridge tonight. I do know that. 15-7. Okay. So now, on to the upstate. Missing about 15 games tonight. Some of these I'm reasonably confident were not played due to the weather, because they're largely from southern and central Illinois. But I'm going to check around before I completely give up on a few of them. Okay, Glenbard East wins 41-8 over Ridgewood. South Elgin 38-21 over West Chicago. And then I believe I'm looking for Elgin and East Aurora. I am looking for that game. So Elgin, East Aurora, also on my missing list. And on to the Vermilion Valley. Okay. All right. So let's go to get the Vermilion Valley. Central over Watseka 30-6. Bismarck Henning 55, Salt Fork 18. Houston 20, Georgetown 6. Okay, so now we've got a couple of Vermilion Valley games that I'm looking for. Westville and Oakwood. Men's 35-0 over Iroquois West. Okay, down to our last five conferences. Western Big Six. Actually, it's only 3 conferences. Western Big Six and Western Illinois Valley. Sterling won 32-0 up in Wisconsin. Moline 37-12 over Rock Island. Thanks, Paul. Quincy. Missing a Quincy East Moline score. Westville 26, Oakwood 0. Okay. I am aware that there's something going on with the comments this evening, guys. I don't know if you are commenting. I cannot see them, so it is a technical problem on someone's end. I'm not sure whose, but if you are commenting and I don't seem to be responding to any of them, I apologize. I cannot see them. I have one guy who's messaging me a few scores, and that's why I'm thanking him. Please don't think I'm ignoring you if you have been texting or posting scores, because I have not seen them. Okay, and now I'm looking for Western Illinois Valley scores, and I'm missing quite a few of them. So this is my last conference. Camp Point 30, Brown 14. Looking for Jacksonville Route and Mendon Unity. And then Beardstown beats Triopia 30-12. Okay. Now on to the other division. All right. So Carrollton 42-0 over North Green. And then let me check something out here before I move on. got all my Willick finals here. West Central 22-20 over Pleasant Hill. Hall North Green. Carrollton wins 42-0. And then Calhoun won 20-0 over Greenfield in a battle of 4-0s. Found the Jacksonville route score. No longer need that one. Okay. So now I'm going to clean a few of these up here. Missing about 20 scores from tonight. I still got about 20 to put in from various places. Several of them are games that to be honest with you, I'm not sure were played. Dunlap East Peoria, 38-7, 7-38. Metamore and Canton, 36-22. Washington and Limestone, 42-0. I do not have a Pekin and Morton score. Nope, I do have a Pekin and Morton score. I just found it. Okay. So, tightening up the list a little bit more here. Including scores I'm missing, I'm down to 27 games. I think I'm missing about 18 scores right now. I have not checked. I just found one that I was missing. I'll run down the list when I finish it up. If you find any of them, I guess since the comments are not working, you can tweet them at me when I go down the list if you do have them. Right now, I'm just kind of filling some holes. Okay. So, check a few other places for a couple of things here. Then I'll run down the list of everything I'm missing. Surprisingly, it's not as many as I thought I was going to be missing. I think we're going to be around 20 scores, and I'll take that, to be completely honest with you. I'm also missing a public league score, Westinghouse and Taft. That was supposedly played this afternoon. I never did see that one. See if I can find it one other place. Nope. Could not find it. So we got that. And then I'm going to shore up one other thing, and then I'll run down the list of stuff that I'm missing. Okay. One last conference to check here. Harlan beats Guilford 30-13. Guilford loses to Hartford. Okay, adding Rockford Auburn and Rockford East to the list of schools that I'm missing. Boylan all over Belvedere. And Onondaga 34-0 over Freeport. So, okay. So all said and done, looks like we're missing 21 scores from Friday night. Scores after I put this one in. Okay. And then 26-0 for Westville. Okay. So that's where we're at. I will run down the scores that I'm missing here. Rockford, Auburn, Rockford East, Westinghouse, Taft. White County and Fairfield, Flora and Johnston City, Dupo and Carlisle, Glenwood and MacArthur, Vernon Hills and Maine East, Macon Meridian and A&M, Monticello and Pontiac, Collinsville, Granite City, Villa Grove, Arcola, Stark County, West Hancock, Pleasant Plains and Porta, Anna Jonesboro and Benton, Heron and Murfreesboro, Harrisburg and Massac County, Alton and Belleville East, Elgin, East Aurora, Quincy, East Moline, and that'll do it. So, quite a healthy list. I'll post the list up on Twitter here as well if anybody's got the ability to help me out with those. Like I said, other than that, pretty speedy night tonight. So, I'm going to wrap her up, and we'll catch you next week.